The movie starts with pictures of a young man named Christopher Robin going through a 100-acre wood when he comes across a group of strange, half-human-looking teenagers. Even though they looked dangerous, Christopher, who was young and naive, made friends with them all anyway. They said they were an owl, a rabbit, a baby pig, and, most importantly, Winnie the Pooh. A young Christopher started to bring them food, and as time went on, their relationship got stronger. The creatures started to act more like people, and they even needed Chris to bring them food. When Christopher grew up and had to leave his friends to go to college to become a doctor, it was sad for the animals. So he stopped coming over when Christopher wasn't there to feed or lead them. And when winter came, the animals were so hungry that they had to eat one of their own to stay alive. This frightened them so much that they started to hate people, especially Christopher, for leaving them. They promised to stop being human, go back to their animal instincts, and never speak again. 5 years after we moved, Christopher goes back to the 100-acre. We're to see his old friends again. He is with his future wife, Mary. And as he walks Mary into the bush, Christopher asks her if she believes the stories he tells about his animal friends who can talk. Mary gives him a concerned look and says that she doesn't quite believe his stories. She also says that the animals he talks about are just things he made up. Who is Christopher? Piglet. It's dangerous. It's different. It's something to think about. Oh, Chris and Mary come across the creature's place and finds the place in a deserted state. Mary, who is very scared, tells Chris that they should leave, but Chris reassures her that his friends aren't a danger. As they walk around, Chris doesn't pay any attention to your grave, but Mary sees ahead. Together, Chris and Mary walk up to Chris's old house with the animals and go inside. Mary sees a broken drawing of Chris, which makes Chris question himself. The fads of childhood. He used to have a sudden voice woke them up. The two run away quickly until it gets dark. Mary and Chris find the thing snoring on the bed. So the two take this as a chance to leave and run out the door. Unfortunately, Piglet shows up out of the blue and wraps a metal chain around Mary as a surprise. Seeing the woman he would marry die, Chris goes somewhere to hide. Chris looks up and sees Pooh coming toward him. He tries to remind Pooh of when they were kids and played together. Soon, Piglet comes from the other side and blocks Chris from getting to Pooh. Now Chris knows that his friends aren't the same as they used to be, and he never came out of the woods again, like many others. News of strange disappearances in the forest spreads around like wildfire, and reporters tell people to stay as far away as possible from 100-acre. Later in the movie, we are introduced to a new character, Maria, who is told by her doctor to disconnect from the busy world around her. After thinking about what the expert said, Maria and her friends decide to go on a vacation in the woods. Little do they know what's in store for them. The house they choose for a vacation is located in a terrible place to stay, the 100-acre wood. When the group of college students gets to the grand cottage, they are amazed, especially because it has a Pooh. When Jessica and her friends get to the house, she asks them to give her their phones because using them would defeat the purpose of the getaway. The girls then talk about how one of their friends, Tina, is always late or doesn't show up. Plan to last. Tina pulls over in front of the sign for 100-acre woods and calls her friends to ask for directions. When they don't answer, Tina walks into the woods and all of a sudden, Winnie the Pooh comes out, which makes Tina run as fast as she can to an empty garage. Tina comes out of cover when she thinks it's safe, but when she turns around, she screams in fear as the deadly bear grabs her and repeatedly hits her head against the wood chipper. The bear kills Tina by cutting up her body and grinding her up in the wood chipper. Back in the house after Maria has settled in, she tells her friends about the twisted stalker she met and how the experience changed her. Her friends smile at her in a friendly way. When Maria says that, she feels a lot better about herself. At Pooh's lair, Christopher is tied to the ceiling and telling Pooh of how great it was when he was a kid. Pooh stops for a moment and thinks back to when Christopher was young and called him his best friend and said he would never leave him. He feels sad, and that sadness quickly turns into anger. Pooh gets a whip and whips Christopher's back for betraying him. To make him feel even worse, Pooh puts Mary's head in front of Christopher, which makes him wail in pain. Meanwhile, Laura, who couldn't stand to be without her phone, quietly takes it. Later that evening, the crazy Pooh is walking in the middle of the woods when he hears the sound of loud music coming from the girl's house. At the same time, Laura relaxes in a hot tub while taking Instagram selfies for The Simpsons. After taking multiple shots of herself, she swipes through them. When her attention is quickly drawn to a person standing in the background, she gets out of the tub to find the pervert, but she can't find him. She thinks her friends are just pulling a joke on her. She gets back in the spa without thinking and keeps having fun in the tub. Laura isn't aware that Pooh and Piglet are sneaking in quietly. When Laura opens her eyes, she finds herself tied up with a piglet standing next to her and Pooh starting the car's engine. She cries out for her life, but Piglet gives Pooh the go-ahead to crush her head. Alice and Zoe ran to see how their friend was doing. When Maria and Jessica heard Laura's scream, they ran outside and found the car door wide open. When they came across Laura's crushed head, they were scared out of their minds. The girls gather around and find a red message on their glass doors. The girls hear the sound of broken glass in the distance, which tells them that someone is there. When they go to see what's making the noise, they hear the scared girls finding Pooh outside. He was holding a big, who surrounds the house and cuts the power. Zoe and Alice decide to arm themselves in the kitchen. Zoe and Alice come back and tell Maria that the intruder is not her stalker. Maria still thinks that the intruder is her stalker. Here is where Maria remembers that she brought a gun, but while Maria and Jessica go to get it, the four of them accidentally split up. Zoe and Alice, on the other hand, made it to the Pooh inside the house so they could close the back door. Zoe, on the other hand, tells Alice to run if something bad happens. In an instant, Piglet arrives and knocks Alice out with his hammer. Then, he moves toward Alice with his hammer to hit her again. But Zoe is able to get Baby to look at her. He gets in the water and throws his hammer at Zoe. Alice wakes up and sees Piglet killing her friend, which is so upsetting that it makes her pass out. Soon, Jessica and Maria find Zoe's dead body floating in the Pooh. They also see Piglet and Pooh carrying Alice, which is a horrifying sight. Then, Jessica and Maria decide to follow the blood-hungry creatures to find out where they are taking Alice. After that, we find Alice tied up with a rope at the Devil's Lair, while Winnie the Crazy Pooh is nibbling on fresh honey from the pot. Winnie does this to Alice when he sees that she is awake again. Later, when Jessica and Maria see that everything is safe, they hurry to help Alice get out of her chains. As Maria and the girls are getting ready to leave, they hear a loud scream. So, Maria, who is smart, tells Jessica and Alice not to leave anyone behind. Inside the rundown house, they see Christopher hanging from the hook. Maria takes careful steps toward his body, just as Chris wakes up and asks Maria for help. So Maria and the girls start making the knots right away. As soon as he is free, they hear a woman calling for help. So Chris tells the girls they need to go help. When the girls go to see what's making the terrible screams, they find a badly hurt woman tied down with ropes. When Jessica asks the woman who hurt her, the woman says Pooh and Piglet. She tells them that the pig and the bear can talk and speak Pooh English, but they prefer to work in silence. After the girls helped the woman get out of her chains, they helped her get away. As they walked outside, the woman saw a mirror structure and screamed in fear when she saw how badly she was scarred. The girls try to stop her from screaming, but the woman grabs Maria's gun. To make the story longer, she chooses to get back at the monsters who hurt her by killing them. Because they are afraid for their lives, Jessica, Maria, and Alice decide to hide. Finally, Piglet the monster shows up and agrees to fight no one-on-one. The woman points her gun at him again and tells him that he made her a monster and that he will pay for it. When she tries to shoot, though, the gun is empty, so the woman backs up, only to trip over Pooh. After Piglet throws the woman to the floor, he pours honey on her face and then sits down to eat it. The girls then decide to run away, but Alice sees a hammer and takes the chance to attack Piglet. After losing Alice, Maria and Jessica chase him into the forest. In the meantime, we see that Alice has caught Piglet. She slaps the monster to wake him up and tells him she will make him pay for his crimes. After beating down Piglet, unfortunately, Pooh attacks Alice and kills her with his maw. The bear then keeps going in search of more blood. Maria and Jessica have been running for a while when they see a car coming toward them. When a group of hillbillies gets out of the car, the girls tell them everything, which makes the men wonder if they are really drunk. So they watch it and plan to find it. Jessica and Maria hide in the car and try to warn the guys, but they don't listen to them. The four men come up to Pooh with weapons, and once they have surrounded him, Logan hits him hard in the face. When they see that Pooh doesn't react, Logan tells his boys to attack together. Worst of all, Pooh is still going strong. Now that he's had enough, it's his turn to clean them up. Seeing Pooh get closer to the car, Maria puts the car in gear and hits him. When her hat hit the driving wheel, Maria can't do anything as she watches Pooh pull Jessica out of the. In a hurry, he shows her Jessica's severed head a few seconds later. Maria tries to keep Pooh away from her, but in the end, he beats her up just as Pooh is about to kill her with his knife. Christopher comes up from behind and hits Pooh with his car, which saves Maria. Chris rushes out to help Maria when he sees Pooh stuck between the cars. As he's helping Maria get back on her feet, Pooh wakes up. Chris moves the car out of the way and grabs his knife. After that, the beast grabs Maria by the hair, and Chris begs him again to stop his violent revenge. He also tells Pooh to let her go if she promises to stay with him forever in the 100-acre wood. When Pooh hears this, at first he slowly puts down his knife, but then he breaks his silence and tells Christopher. He then cuts Maria's throat after holding her while she died. A frightened Christopher sees that his old friend can no longer be helped, and he watches as Pooh keeps stabbing her dead body. The movie ends with Chris running off into the woods, making Pooh worry about more scary things to come.